We're going live. We should be live, everybody. So great to see you all here. I'm just going to mute everybody so that we don't get any background interference. I see our great leader is with us. John's logged in. Thank you, John. So we got everybody, all the usual suspects, as I like to call them. Great to see everyone. Bill, Stuart, Julia, Carl, Cyril, Khaled, Daisy. Too many people to mention. Mark's just come in. He's waving his arms around, looking enthusiastic. That's what I need, Mark. We need a cheerleader today. Nicola's there right in the middle of my picture anyway. And Evelyn, we've all been talking about what's happening in the outside world. So that is my theme for today, in a positive way, hopefully. So I'm going to talk about projecting outwards and helping others. And I really do feel strongly about the topic this week because there is untold suffering emerging around us, and I've been focusing on the plight of some of those out there in talking to community workers who are out there on the front line, as well as focusing on some of our friends closer to home, all of our friends who are perhaps going through emotional difficulty. It's a tough time for everybody. Anyway, I'm going to come back to that aspect, but I wanted to take stock first as to where we are at the beginning of the week, or nearly the beginning of the week. We had really great general sessions last week. John's new career as a radio ham operator was developing nicely. He'd apparently managed to contact Marconi by Wednesday, and I do believe he's got a session booked with Elvis this week. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure if he knows his diodes from his transistors yet, but that didn't stop him, believe it or not, from bravely ordering a 50-cent Chinese radio live on air during Friday night's Be Heard session. I think he took the meaning of Be Heard a bit too literally, but we'll see what arrives when it arrives. Maybe he'll tell us later.
By the way, that was not legit. I'll let you know what happened with that.
John's going to tell us what happened, but yes, it really did happen. It wasn't a dream. I didn't just wake up. He really did, live on the session, order a 50-cent Chinese walkie-talkie, but it was a great session on e-commerce. I do think one of our newer members, Richard, wondered what on earth he got himself into, but hopefully he's recovered from the whole experience. And then Stuart last week shared his wonderful Zen, Archer and centering presentation with us, which I very much appreciated. He took us on a tour and a trip through the Zodiac as well. A great, thought-provoking talk from a great spirit, really. And then Ivier delivered a very powerful general session talk on Wednesday about giving ourselves personal praise and active appreciation. I think that really struck a chord with everybody, and we still remember that talk. What a wonderful speaker as well. Ivier, it's got so much to offer, and Ivier, you're a great leader. And I just think we enjoyed also your mind-boggling corporate curio stories to round off the week. They're wonderful stories. So anyone that gets a chance to log in and listen to them live or recorded, they're great and highly entertaining. Later that night, actually, on that day, we experienced technical difficulties after the Klingons had managed to sever Glenn's internet connection, having described the internet as a primitive form of communication. I haven't broken it to Glenn yet, but I do think it was an act of Klingon retaliation for not having featured prominently enough in his forthcoming Star Trek themed book. But we'll break that to him later on when he logs on. I'm not sure if he's on. I can't see him at the moment. Glenn, we are looking forward to seeing you this week. Your sessions are really, really important to doing business and to developing as entrepreneurs. So really looking forward to that. Thursday's general session, Mark made a fascinating presentation on tactics and targeted areas of interest. And those tactical charts that he showed us were most thought-provoking, and I'm certainly going to spend some time on those. Mark really has walked the walk and crossed the line where talking really ends. And respect to you, Mark, for your service and your humanity. Really appreciate that.
Let me...
John, then, somebody's mic is open. I can't see whose it is.
9:25 tomorrow.
Mute all. I think I've muted them. So John then rounded off the week with the message to Garcia, which was memorable and very apt and really a call to action, personal action. So don't give up, be self-motivated and see no barriers. Really, though, standing back from that week and looking back on it, all of it went to show for me what a wonderful, phenomenal, inspiring and diverse family the John Lavenia Success Mastermind group is. And what wonderful source of inspiration and support are available to all of us every single day. And I really do think that all of us in this family, as a team, have taken the whole concept of the mastermind group way, way beyond even Napoleon Hill's wildest dreams. He was talking relative to what we're doing in a fairly narrow sphere. I think we've taken it a heck of a lot further, and it still hasn't stopped developing yet. And as Ivier would say, let's all congratulate ourselves on that and on the fantastic group effort we've made in 2020. It's really quite spectacular. John talked again yesterday about enabling people within the group and enabling us to be cause. We all want to be cause, and we all have been cause in various ways, which is fantastic to see. And really the power of the group comes from within, but in my view, it lies without or outside. And I'm going to explain a bit more in a minute what I mean by that. That's my focus for today. But first of all, focus on that power from within. Since early April, this group has just filled me with spiritual well-being and support every day, every single day, as well as knowledge, inspiration for my endeavors, and the general friendship and the spirit of friendship, which has grown and grown and grown. And this internal group power and support really is a potent force that we can all use to our own advantage, but also we can use it for the greater good of those around us. Once the flame is burning strongly in us, we can use it for progressing our own goals, but to improve the lives of other people as well. And I really am a firm believer in that proposal. And as we said, as John said, and we said a couple of months ago to John, Socrates said, let him who would move the world first move himself. You've got to work on yourself first. Many of us have spent weeks within this group moving ourselves, tackling our personal baggage, gaining new insights, implementing new and powerful habits and routines. And they've worked in some cases in a pretty spectacular way already. So if anyone, by the way, is struggling with any of these things or anything, reach out. We always keep saying this, reach out to people in the group. There are many here who've had difficult times, difficult journeys, and I know they're happy to share their ideas and their thoughts. So particularly if you're new to this group and you're not yet familiar with that, everyone is there for you, happy to talk. But as an aside, I'm also reminded that it's difficult to do good and to move ourselves or other people forward unless we actually like ourselves. And that's pretty key. I think we need to take Ivier's advice again and give ourselves personal praise. But in addition, sometimes we've got to take stock. We've got to take an inventory of whether we actually like ourselves. Do we actually like ourselves? If there are any reasons we don't like ourselves, maybe it's time to ask ourselves why again. Pinpoint those issues and identify remedial action that we can take. And I actually made my notes about all this before reading Think and Grow Rich chapter 15 with John and going through it last night, Outwitting the Six Ghosts of Fear. That chapter absolutely aligned with everything I was thinking about this week. Napoleon Hill talks of everything we create originating in the form of a thought and how linked that is with overcoming our fears and moving forward. One idea might be to turn back life's clock to the times where you can actually pinpoint perhaps the sources of any self-doubt, self-loathing, or other negative thoughts. Perhaps you can turn the clock back and say, when did all this happen? Because these factors and these doubts are all based in thoughts. And Hill makes it clear that all thought does have a tendency, as he says, to clothe itself in its physical equivalent. We really do wear what we think. Let's take his thought away and really consider that perhaps over the next couple of weeks. I knew it was true, but it's the truth of its repetition that really hit me between the eyes again when we went through the chapter. Put another way, yeah, we are out, we'd be clothing ourselves every day in what we're thinking about. And if that's negative, it's going to show. So much as we would say we are what we eat, we wear what we think. But we do live in a state of mind. And this was in the chapter again last night. It can be altered. And thereby we can alter our whole world. We can alter our mental and outward clothing by taking these actions. So what did cause these feelings originally, if you have them? What are the reasons or thoughts behind any fears that we have? What is the invisible barrier that's holding us back actually made of? What is it made up of? Why is it affecting us? And Hill, by the way, does provide very practical advice. Many self-analytical questions and tools in that chapter 15. He lists dozens of questions we can ask ourselves to try and pinpoint problems. They are well worth reading if you want to create a positive state of mind and remove some of the weeds from the flower bed. Another thought that arose for me last night, while Stuart and I were having a discussion about the atomic structure of lead and gold, and yeah, you did hear that correctly. We really did discuss the atomic structure of lead and gold last night, as one does on a Monday night. Anyway, it emerged from the toing and froing that lead and gold are only 3 protons apart. Well, that's absolutely amazing. Gold can be so near when we're seeking it, and with changes in our thinking, we can actually create gold from the lead that we might think we're holding at the moment. It's that close. I'm not going to forget that image or that discussion with Stuart. It was pretty startling, actually. So I personally see 2021 as a time for reconstruction and repair and a launching forward from a new personal platform. And I'm sure green shoots are going to come after these terrible storms that we've experienced and seen in 2020. And I know that in this group, we are perfectly poised for taking action because of all the self-study and the self-help work and motivation work we've put in. But we need to plan some action and take it, and really not worry if it's not perfectly planned. Any action is good action, and it can change the mindset. It can create a whole chain reaction of further impacts and actions. And that really is where the power of a nuclear reaction comes from. The release of neutrons arising from fission creates a chain reaction. You can do that from the smallest action. You can create multiple, much bigger actions. So don't worry if it's not a great, big, dramatic action. Just do something. And then a chain reaction will certainly start developing in our own personal behavior. And I know that as we approach 2021 now, the flame really does burn strongly in this group. Of that, I'm convinced. Every time I look at everybody and speak to them, it is burning very strongly. We've come a long way. We've come a long way. But we do need to clear the decks for battle, deal with personal baggage, mental baggage, free up our creative forces. And we've all been doing enormous work on this, and we're continuing to do so. So let's free ourselves up for action and reach for those visions that we want to hold on to, those aspirations we're holding our arms out towards. It reminded me, though, that the 18th century navies gave us that term, clearing the decks, because before battle in the old wooden ships of the line, they would literally clear the entire gun deck, even the walls, the partitions, everything was removed. Mentally, we can do that as well. We can knock down the walls, clear the barriers, clear the partitions, and be ready for action. So we can sail over the threshold in 2021, ready and primed, and go for it. So that was my inward reflection on what's happened within the group. But I've spent most of the last 2 weeks looking very much outwards, talking to charity workers and people, dealing with people at the moment suffering terrible things. We've spent our time moving ourselves and improving ourselves. But I do believe that the power we've generated in the group also lies outside the group. And that gives me enormous power of thought, but also enormous responsibility, really personally, to look outwards and not to forget to look outwards, not just to gaze inwards the whole time. And I'd be very interested in a moment in your thoughts on that aspect. Because not only, I think, will the group that the power we've generated in this group project outwards and benefit ourselves, our own enterprises, businesses, and our families and friends, but it will also enable us to do great good for other people in many, many different ways, and to bring about external changes. Looking outwards. And looking outwards can mean looking outside ourselves to members of this group. And I know a lot of you are doing that, and I really thank you for that from the bottom of my heart, because it's changing people's lives. But it can also mean looking outwards beyond the group and making ripples in our pond that then spread beyond our pond to the much wider community. I talked earlier about this in terms of the flame burning within us. We can go out and be candle bearers and take the skills we're learning and the attitude we're learning to the outside world. And we can become what I'll call connectors, bringing about change, bringing about results, bringing about improvements in many people's lives, not just our own. The world really needs these connectors, people prepared to do small things, to make changes, to make pushes, to take initiatives, self-motivated people, determined people, catalysts, people who do something. They don't just react, they're proactive. And I'm certainly going to place a candle in my window over this festive season to remind me of the outside world. This is what they would do historically as a welcome beacon for a tired traveler or an absent family member. They have the tradition of placing a candle in the window. That's going to remind me of the less fortunate people outside this group who haven't experienced what we've experienced together in the last several months. There's so much we can do, and so much more in the global community around us. Remember also that in our moments of victory that we celebrate every week, some haven't experienced those triumphs. Perhaps we can help them to do that. Is there anything we can do? What can we do? We can't always do big things, but that doesn't matter. We can always do small things. That's what I remind myself. Don't focus on the big things. The small things can sometimes make the biggest difference. And I'm going to think about that in a quiet moment. You know, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what we could do and what you perhaps are doing already. Are we passing on knowledge? Are we giving advice? Are we just listening and sharing burdens? Are we spreading smiles, thank yous, Glenn's acts of random kindness, placing banknotes in somebody's supermarket package, donations, soup kitchens? What can we do? I really would love to hear all of you and what you have to think about it, because I know we have very deep thinkers sitting with us today. I'd love to hear about the power of the group, what you feel about that, the idea that this gives us responsibility to look outwards, whether you agree with that, your thoughts on assessing whether we like ourselves and whether we can clear the decks and action is needed, what we can do for others. And really, anyone whose camera's off, doesn't feel they can speak, please leave the camera off and speak. Come forward and let's hear you, because we'd all love to hear you. This is a safe place, safe space, as we all like to call it. And we're all here to listen. So thank you very much for listening. I wanted to open the floor and really gain your thoughts on where we are and what do you think. And Nida has her hand up.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about the camera. I'm driving, so I don't want to put the camera, but
no problem.
But you're absolutely right, Adrian. One of the things that has always driven me, besides my business, is being able to give to others and assist in any way possible. And even though it's been kind of a tight year for me with the COVID and having lost my job, the fact that I had a business to be able to hold on to and grow, which has grown tremendously. That's why I haven't been able to attend a lot of the meetings. I have been able to continue that giving option. And I actually currently have about 26 different organizations that I give to. Some of them are charity for kids. Some of them are for the Native Indians. Some of them are like veterans, police associations. I mean, I think you name it, I have a little bit of everything. And I feel so great when I do give, because it makes me feel like I have accomplished not only my goals, but helping others to be able to get where they need to get as well through these charities have been an immense help for me, mentally and physically, because I feel that, if you don't have the option or you don't have the ability to give, even if it's monetary, give some of your time has helped as well. One of the organizations I donate time to is the Children's Home Society here in Florida, and it has been an amazing experience. I learn from these kids and families every day. So I think it's a really great idea to help us feel grounded when we do, give back, even if it's in the smallest little things. I know I'm not giving a lot, because I could probably in the future, once I become a millionaire, be able to do a lot more. But I think with the little bit I do now, and they're so appreciative, and they send me these emails with the pictures, or send me pictures and all these beautiful notes from the different children and the people who I do help. It makes me feel so good that I'm able to, at least in that little bit of ability, that I can help them to accomplish a little bit of something, along with me being able to accomplish what I need to in my personal life and my business.
That's wonderful, Nida. And, everything helps. Everything, you never know what it's going to trigger off. A great inspiration for a child, help for the future for somebody that wouldn't have done something, help in a desperate moment when it was all getting too much. I've heard so many stories in the last couple of weeks, which are quite shocking. And if we can just get out there and do little things, they will spread. They will certainly spread. So I'm so glad you're doing that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm glad your business is thriving. It just shows you had a second leg and you managed to even get some growth.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I'm it's been so great that my website's being revamped. My online business website is being revamped because I have one separate from Amazon, and it's incredible what putting my mind to it and determination because of this group being there, my support, because even though I'm not physically here, I listen to the videos afterwards, and it's like it drives me to really accomplish everything I want to. And so it's been amazing for me, and I cannot say how grateful I am to this group, because you guys have been the amazement that I've never had before. And I do speak to everybody I can and tell them, look, if you feel that you don't have the support, I know a group that will give you all the support you need. So I feel blessed that I'm part of it, and will continue moving forward. So and I finally have now officially, as of today, an employee who will help me with my business. So I feel like amazed. I would have never thought that I would ever have an employee. So it's really good. I feel
That's
really great.
amazing. Amazing, Nida. And, you know, it's so great to hear you. We've missed you. You used to be on the camera all the time, and we've missed seeing you. So it's so great to hear things have been going so well. And hopefully you can keep track and log on from time to time on the camera. If we can see you from time to time, that would be brilliant. Lovely, lovely to hear you.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to be more involved now that I have an employee who can help me on the smaller things. So yes, I definitely will be more available moving forward.
Great news, great news. Well, onwards and upwards, and that's great. That's great progress. I'll move on, if I may, to Evelyn. Evelyn has a hand up. Hi, Evelyn.
Adrian, I am so glad that's the topic for today, because since we spoke last week, that has been weighing heavy on my heart, that we take things for granted. I think most of us, you know, we have a roof over our heads, we have tap water, we have AC, or we have heater, we have food on our plates every day. And yet we forget sometimes, not because we want to, just because we don't stop and think that maybe someone out there, even your neighbor, may not have anything to eat tonight or today. So when we were talking over the weekend, and we were talking about the charities that you're contributing to in the Cayman Islands, it broke my heart, because in the Cayman Islands right now, you guys help some people from my country, from Nicaragua, to go back home, and just to be devastated by the hurricane Category 5 that hit Nicaragua. Javier and I are contributing to a charity through the church, you know, because you gotta be careful also who you donate with, so the government doesn't keep that money. But I would like to contribute. I know this is not what the call is for, but I would like to bring your attention to all of you that Adrian is working with a charity in the Cayman Islands for all the people that are stranded there, that because of tourism has stopped 100%. There's people without jobs. There's people that don't have any food to bring to the table at all. They don't have a place where to live. And I want to contribute to that. And when I'm saying this, I'm calling out, you know, I'm sorry, John, that I'm using your platform for this, a call of action, whatever. $1 is a dollar that they didn't have, you know, so please, if you can share that link, I will greatly appreciate it. I also want to share with you guys that Feeding America has started the campaign today. For those of you that haven't seen it, they were saying that $1 is something that they can buy 2.5 meals. $10, they buy 100. You know, I'm not asking for thousands of dollars, but you guys, there's so much that we can do to help others, and we don't have to break the bank. Just, you know, sometimes we don't know where to go, where to help, and who to assist with. And again, coming from a place of gratefulness, we have so much. And yes, we may be affected with no work, no job, no steady income, or the higher income that we had, but we have way more than everyone else in the world that is suffering through what's happening. So I just wanted to make it a point to reach out into your hearts and your pockets, and maybe, you know, this is not something that we do only during the holidays. I am aware that a lot of us are already giving back through our churches, through contributing, through I don't know, just donating our time, helping out. We're doing it with each other here. But I don't know. I guess you guys get the point. Let's help out. You know, I'm gonna post if John is okay with that, the link for Feeding America, and you know, Adrian, your link, please, so we
Oh,
can
that's
help.
lovely, Evelyn. Thank you. I mean, I think we've got to watch out for the marginalized people that are stranded all over the world, who were working hard, sending money back to their families, and now they can't get home and they're stuck. And they're in desperate straits because they're not in the national systems. They're not wanted anymore, and they're struggling to survive because they can't get back. So I think there's a lot of, a lot of these people around. Anyway, that's lovely thoughts, Evelyn. Really appreciate you sharing those. We'll move on if we can to Ivier.
Thank you, Adrian. I just wanted to say, there's so many ways in which we can give, right? We did the gift drive for the JLSM children and grandchildren. And, for some of us, well, I mean, this is what I did. I looked for, one, small businesses, two, businesses that had some kind of ethical affiliation. So whether it was carbon emissions or helping a child in need, or whatever it was. I mean, so there was one particular small business I purchased an item from for a child, and part of what I paid was going to go towards producing or providing the very same care for a child in need. Like, so it was probably, I was paying for two items, but one was going to the child I had nominated and the other one was going to go to a child in need, right? So there are creative ways out there that if we want to give, just by our normal shopping habits or our normal social media habits, we can find those, small businesses that we can support. Secondly, we can give our time to charities because at this time of year, they are so short-handed. They just don't have enough physical bodies, so we can take a day's leave from work for those of us who are still blessed to have jobs. For those who are between jobs, we can spend this time volunteering, like, just take 2 days a week and pick, different charities and give your time. It doesn't have to be a monetary value. For those of us that have great voices, kids are doing virtual learning now. We might be able to do reading, over the internet. There's just so much, there's just so many ways that we can give right now. Something else I'm doing, I mean, there's a friend of mine who really wants to be on the mastermind, but I kind of know she's just in a really bad place, I mean, financially right now. So what I do is I go for walks with her on Sunday and I kind of give her a rundown of what our sessions have been throughout the week. You don't understand. I mean, that walk with her is like a lifeline. She just cannot wait for our walks on Sunday because she knows she's going to get some snippet, something, some note she's going to write in her phone that's going to keep her going for the next week until we see each other again, right? So there are just so many ways we can give from what we're getting on this platform. And this is what I keep saying. Everything we're learning here on the JLSM family is not just for us. It's for us to take out into the wider world, right? Because not everybody has access to what we're being fed on this platform. I mean, if we think of just John's, talks, the books we've read, I mean, look at Adrian today. I mean, just stuff that we share here, right? It's for us to take it out and make a difference into, our worlds. So I was saying last night on the book study that, having this 1 month contract with this, Central London 5-star hotel, it's just amazing how my mere presence, they think I'm weird because I just respond differently. I just don't take on any of the negativity. I don't even, as soon as it starts, I either walk away or I start, affirmations, whatever it is, just not to let any of that, come into my mind. And they just think they think I'm weird. They think I'm from a different planet, right? But that's another way that we can counteract what's happening out there. So somebody wants to throw a pity party, just come up with something positive. Make them think about, the person down the road who's worse off than they are. Give them a different perspective, whatever it takes. So there's just so much that we can do to help people. I mean, you all know I'm doing the food bank drive. I mean, friends of mine for the last 20 odd years, at this time of year, we put together 3,000 hampers, right? Just think of a typical Christmas meal, from potatoes to the turkey to Brussels sprouts to stuffing. We put entire hampers together. And every year we pick a different inner city project and we actually deliver the stuff from the 22nd of December to the 24th. So we blitz out 3,000 hampers in about 3 days. And we all just, we have vans that do the delivery drops. We take it in our cars and we just pick an inner city project. And so 3,000 homes get to have you know, a meal on Christmas Day. But as you know, turkey, there's always leftover, right? So, you know, for the next week or so, they're going to be having turkey sandwiches, turkey stew, you know, whatever it is. But that meal is going to stretch, right? So we've been doing this for over 20 years. So there's just so many ways to give, right? And all it takes is for us to just be that little bit more creative. And you'll be amazed what you can do with the little you have. What you think is little is actually big and grand in somebody else's hands, right? So don't think you haven't got anything to give. If you need ideas, reach out to, you know, those of us on the platform. We will happily share, you know, ideas with you. There's just so much we can do with what we've got on this platform. We can actually make a difference. We have a consensus here on this platform that, I mean, it took 12 guys, right, to turn the world upside down back in the day. Right now on the call, there are 42 of us. Can you imagine if we just went out into our own small world, the kind of chaos, good kind of chaos, right, that we would just instigate? And we can do that. We really can. We've got what it takes, right? So that was just what was coming up for me as you were speaking, Adrian. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Lavenia. That's a true inspiration. I think that's the sort of discussion I wanted to have today, because, you know, it's the immediate crisis help that's needed, but then longer term, the best thing we can do is help people with mindset, learning and education, so they can actually get better and break out of the cycle. So, you know, once this immediate crisis is over, there's a lot to be done. And it's all about helping people with education and thought processes. Otherwise, they risk just staying in the same cycle forever. And we can't let that happen, really. I think it's so easy to fix it. Thank you so much, Ivie.
You're welcome.
Ego, you have your hand up. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks, Adrian. That was truly inspiring and apt at the same time. So before I actually share what's on my mind, I'll give some context. So I'll make it really quick. When I was 24, a long time ago, I was told I couldn't have children. And I wasn't married at the time. I was devastated. Anyway, fast track, 2 years after, I had my son, but then this was a miracle. You can't have any more children. And that's exactly what happened. What I decided at that time, because I've always known that I was born to be a giver. As much as I embraced receiving, I know that one of my key strengths is in giving. And I was inspired by a quote by Charles Spurgeon, which says, giving is true having. And over the years, so close to 30 years, I would say I've looked for opportunities to give of my time, talent, and resources. So it's not always, the financial giving. So when I realized, as my son was growing up, so still a toddler, I decided to sponsor a number of children. So over the years, I've actually sponsored, taking on the well-being or the care of children financially, right? Too many to count over the years. Some have graduated university. So sometimes, like my family would say, I have many children, although I have just the one, right? But I don't see it that way. And as they graduate, when, like they say to me, oh, I can never repay you, I just say, just pay it forward, do something for somebody else. And the youngest one is probably 7 now, over the years. And then also over the years, recognizing to what Evelyn said, sometimes we don't realize, that there's suffering amongst us because we don't actually see it. I mean, of course, walking the streets of London, you see the homeless people, but it really touched me, like going into work, like really early in the morning, and you see, my heart goes out to the homeless people on the street. So probably about 25 years ago, I got involved in Crisis. Crisis, for those who don't know, is a homeless charity. And every Christmas, from when my son was actually young, when he was old enough to actually volunteer, we would volunteer from the 21st of December through to the 31st. So office buildings, when they shut down for Christmas, they repurposed their buildings to house the homeless during the winter, during the Christmas break. So I volunteered every year when I was in the country, you know, to kind of help with, you know, cleaning, cooking, training, you name it. So we did that for a number of years. And when my son turned 14, he joined us as well, so that he's grounded, and you realize that because you have a comfortable bed to sleep on, not everyone else does, right? And then in times where I couldn't, I actually would then sponsor, like this year, I can't do it. I couldn't do it last year because of chemo. I actually sponsor the build out of these shelters, right? So that these the homeless people have at least a comfortable place over Christmas and food. And for me, like I think it was you know, I think it was Evelyn who said that. No, sorry, it was Nadia who said she felt she's achieving her goals. And for me, it's not just a cliche. I love to give. I'm so blessed beyond comprehension. So I look for opportunities, and to be a blessing that's sustainable, you know, such as providing, sponsoring, and, you know, like paying for water for hundreds of thousands of people, paying for schools to be built. And it's not about any kind of, I don't need the recognition. I just love the fact that I'm able to share of, you know, what I've been blessed. I've been blessed immensely, financially and otherwise. And I want to ensure that some of that actually filters down to other people who are not as blessed, as fortunate as I am. And in raising our son, we've actually kind of we've kind of ingrained that in him, and he's such a giver. It's unreal. And people say, well, you know, what do you expect? That's how he was raised. So I'm really, really blessed to be a blessing. I'm just so thankful that I'm in a position where I can give my time, my talent, and my resources. So thanks for you know, kind of bringing this to the forefront, Adrian.
Again, that's incredible and really inspiring and mind-blowing. And you've done a wonderful thing for your son as well. That's just incredible to hear. And thanks for sharing that. I think, yeah, you're right. Everything I'm seeing is inspiring me to focus more on what we're doing in this group, because I now want to make more to give more. That's how it's making me feel. I wish I had the funds to be able to go out there and do greater things. So it's actually, in a funny way, a spur back to say, hey, get myself sorted out and let's get on with it. Because
Absolutely.
if you've got the ability to do what we can all do in this group, I think we do have an enormous responsibility to try and use it. I really do feel that. So thank you very much, Ego. That was incredible thoughts and incredible acts of generosity. Thank you. My friend Bill.
Adrian, thank you.
Hi, Bill.
Talk about knock your socks off. Do you know, I'm sitting here with this unbelievable buzz inside me, just listening to all these speakers, these great people, these people that have guided and helped me along the way to become what I've become. And I'm going to say this in the nicest possible way. John, I don't think you realize what you have started. Frankly, I know you believe that you're doing good, but I think you're underestimating what you've gathered together here, the power of this. A couple of things, loads of things. And I know, Adrian, and we were talking earlier before we commenced the whole session, but I happened to have my music on, and on came The Streets of London, as many of you will know the song. And I'm going to read you one verse, okay? And the verse is, have you seen the old girl who walks the streets of London? Dirt in her hair and her clothes in rags. And if I cry, please excuse me. She's no time for talking. She just keeps right on walking, carrying her home in 2 carrier bags. That, you know, They are very powerful words, massively powerful. And what I have found with everybody here in this group is the power of the words that they use. Your subject today, Adrian, I had chatted earlier to Virginia, and these words popped into my head, and I just said, the advice that we can bestow on others shows the fires that we have fought. It might have been crap for us, but in the end, it becomes good because we can advise or guide somebody in a simple or, a complex way, whatever it shows. And the power that this whole group brings together in that, we look at when Jane reached out about Neil. My goodness, I mean, I'm sure she felt floored, and I know you felt floored, Jane, and I know Neil felt floored, by the amount of support that they received. But you talk about the power of everything here, the power of giving, the power of being able to give, the power of having that ability to give. And you talked there, Adrian, about the ripples in the pond, and it can be just a small thing. But for me, when you look at the power in this group, my God, guys, we could be the next meteor that hit the Pacific Ocean just through our actions, through this power of thought that we have brought together for everybody here. And it's only coming to dawn on me now. Everything that I have experienced, and I can tell you, I don't know if I've told everybody, I have been dead. People brought me back to life. And I have been close to death after that on so many bloody occasions. Well, I'll not even go there. But I kept saying to myself, one of the last close calls I had when I finally came to a halt after being hurtled down a motorway at 100 miles an hour, and I looked up with my helmet on, and I just said, thank you. I shouldn't have survived it. A gentleman, a fellow officer, and who was in exactly the same situation, didn't survive it. I survived it. But it's only now that I've met all you guys that I'm beginning to see, actually, maybe I do have a purpose. Maybe somebody somewhere is keeping me alive for that purpose. And now I'm beginning to find that purpose. And despite all that's going on in my life at the minute, I'm feeling better and better, as John would say, and every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And we can do all this for all these people. And it's not a case of, not everybody plays a victim. Not every, those that want to play at being a victim, well, that's their decision. But sometimes people are dealt a really crap hand, and they just need not a handout, they need a wee hand up, be that mentally, physically, monetarily, whatever. And there's absolutely nothing stopping us. Evia, you mentioned, and I made a note of this because I was about to say it and see Jody put it in the chat line about the likes of Tom's shoes. You buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes to somebody. Simple things, simple bloody things like that. When I walk past, now obviously I'm not in the city as often as I would have been when I was working, but when I walk past somebody that I saw begging in the street who were homeless, I didn't throw money on their hat. I went into the shop and bought them a packet of sandwiches, some crisps, and Coke, and just walked past and set it down. And the beauty that I loved about doing that was, as you were walking up the street in the crowds, all you hear was, "Thanks, mate." And that made my day. I never turned around and just thought, "Thanks, yeah, that's good. That's got me on our way." And the only other thing, and I made loads and loads of notes here because you guys are awesome. I'm sorry to say it, and I will blow smoke up whatever passage needs blowing smoke up because you deserve it. Was Ego, you were saying about the empty offices being utilized. I give to shelter, shelter, and I like giving to, because homeless has always been a big issue for me. I know what it's like. I am so grateful every night I lie in bed, any bed, be it under a tree. I have always been grateful that I'm dry and I'm warm. But the likes of now, everybody's working at home. We could have no homeless on the streets if our offices were utilized correctly. that's, you know, that's the power that could be there to be used. I've talked too much, Adrian, and I appreciate your allowing me to without cutting me off. Thank
Bill,
you.
You haven't talked too much. You're on fire, as they say. And so is Ego, Ivier, Evelyn, Nida. Everyone's been on fire, I think. And so glad to hear all these stories you're sharing. I love that quote as well. I hope Therese got that down. Your quote.
What was
your earlier quote talking to Virginia? I think it was.
Oh yeah.
I didn't quite capture that, but I hope we got that written down. And I love that song. Sorry, Bill.
I was just going to say it came in a moment of inspiration. I don't know where that came from. It's a rare thing, so it is, Adrian.
I loved it. And the song, incredible song, and it takes me right back to early youth. That was a well-known song at the time, The Streets of London. Sums it up, it really does. So thank you so much, Bill. You're on fire. Move on, if we can, to Julia has a hand up.
Hi, I have two things I want to mention. One is that my cousin runs a nonprofit in the Philippines. He was a chef in Washington State in the Seattle area at a community college. And when he retired, he thought, well, I can live pretty well in the Philippines on my pittance of retirement. And he got there and he saw so many children who had little to no food, who had severe malnutrition, and he started feeding them with his pension. And eventually he got tied in with the Rotary, and there is a nonprofit now called Tagum City Children's Relief, which I'll put in the chat. It used to be Tagum City Food Bank, but I think on Facebook it's now Children's Relief. And they go from village to village. They'll spend, I don't know, a month maybe in a village, and they will feed these children every single day, I believe it is, and give the kids, or maybe it's once a week for this group, and then, you know, the next day they're in another place. I don't know exactly how it works, but every single penny donated goes directly to feeding the children. He gets equipment from the Rotary, and he does not take a salary at all because he has his pension. And he does so many more things than that. He's been called an angel, and I think he is one. And anyway, if you get a chance, I encourage you to look at some of the photos on Facebook. He's helped pay for surgeries for kids with severe club foot, where the foot was absolutely backwards, and done all sorts of amazing things. And the other comment I wanted to have, and I may tear up on this one, some of you have talked about homelessness and taking care of people on the streets. My dad was a brilliant man, but he was a very troubled man. And he would, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can do this. He was mentally ill probably all of his life, but it really went downhill as I became an adult. And he was homeless and had disappeared for many years. And the Salvation Army helped him. They fed him and housed him some of the time. And I'm sorry, I really am. The reason I'm bringing this up is these are human beings. They're people's parents. They're people's kids. They're brothers and sisters. They're grandparents. So, you know, it's easy to drive by. I mean, I've been in Denver visiting my daughter, and there are thousands of homeless people in a cluster, you know, waiting to get in the shelter. And it's not easy to drive by, but when you drive by, you see this great big group of people, and I guess it's easier to just kind of clump them together as the homeless. But when you think about each one of them as a person who was a baby once, who was loved, hopefully, you know, it can really touch your heart. So I'll stop now. Sorry.
Julia, I really feel for you there. And that was wonderful. You know, it is an arm's length away from us every day, behind every wall, around every corner. Sometimes perhaps people don't want to see it, but it's there. And let's not forget, as you say, these are real people. So we're just very privileged. I feel incredibly lucky and privileged to be able to dial into this group, do the things I've done, share everything with the people I'm sharing with all of you. So thank you, Julia. Real people out there like us. And as the saying goes, everybody is 3 big mistakes from the street. I've never forgotten that either. Thank you, Julia. That was lovely. Quilla has her hand up.
Hi there. I'm not sure if this will work because I'm actually on tethering because there's no internet on my island at present. So, Julia, you have absolutely nothing to be sorry for. Everybody is allowed to have pain and to show their pain. And, you know, there, but for the grace of God, go I, you, anywhere else, anybody else. It can happen to anybody. We can lose our income, lose our health, you know, just like that, just at the turn of fate or whatever. So yeah, it's just, we're all human beings and we need to remember that. We need to not put anybody in a category that is anything less than absolutely human. And the other thing I was wanting to say was to do with kindness, really. And one of the things that I have learned along my time and has stayed with me as being important is that my every action, everything I do reverberates around the universe forever. So my body will not be here forever, but my actions will go outwards, as Adrian said, in ripples, and they can spread good things, helpful things into infinity, basically, into the rest of the universe. And we all need to remember that each of us is only one person. We've got a limited number of things that we can do, but all of those things are important. And one of the most important things, I think, is kindness, just being generally kind to other people. We can't all give vast amounts of money, but we can all be kind, and we can spend some time, and we can listen to other people. And one of the things we can do is get involved in our communities, which is what I'm trying to do. There's usually various organizations we can get involved with. I'm trying to get involved with, well, I am involved with now our development trust, which is to do with trying to improve the social well-being of the whole island, basically, with education and everything else. There's food banks all over the country, which is, you know, we shouldn't need them, but we have them and we do need them, and we can all give, you know, something to them. Most of them have Facebook pages or internet pages that you can go and visit and see what it is that they're most desperately needing at the moment. Or you can give time just helping out at those kind of places, as is Adrian and Ivier, and I'm sure lots of other people. Just whatever you do, just remember that it's not just now at Christmas, but it's always. That's all I've got to say, really.
Thanks, Quilla. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. It's all the time. And certainly what's happened recently is that people have forgotten because they thought the problem was solved and people had been repatriated and everyone was okay. They sort of forgot because the immediate crisis had passed, but it never does. I absolutely agree with you. And I agree with you that yeah, the torch we're holding in this group today, we can pass on to our children and our grandchildren, the knowledge we've got, the things we're sharing, and it will reverberate for decades if we choose to do that. Yeah. So we can really pass all this on. I absolutely agree, Kurt. It's going to reverberate around the universe. We have a real opportunity to make that happen. Thank you. Nicola has a hand up. Hi, Nicola.
Hello. Hi. Wow, you always deliver, Adrian. I think you've just really encouraged everyone to kind of dig deep and open their hearts, and just the generosity of the people in this group is, I think everyone's getting a little bit emotional, but it was listening to Ego was actually, her honesty has just given me a bit of a nudge, to be honest. And I'm just going to share bit of my story to all of you, and just kind of puts into perspective what I'm about to share means a lot to me, in the same way I think Julia's just shared. At the beginning of this year, you were all strangers. I'm now going to share something with you that when I think I've just left a job of 17 years and I've probably told about 2 people in that place. So we really should not underestimate what we've created here. But what given means to me is kind of similar, I guess, to ego. I found out when I was a teenager I couldn't have children, so I don't have any children, so and I still can't. So I struggled a lot of my life with kind of trying to understand why and questioning what my purpose was. And it was only when I made a trip out to Cambodia about 4 or 5 years ago and spent some time volunteering in a school that I walked away from there and thought, do you know what, I've just found my purpose, because I can see what difference I can make to their lives by just giving a small amount. So I didn't know how at the time, but I knew that that was to become my purpose, that I would somehow set up in business and one day head back out there and build a school. And you've just helped me kind of reflect on what I've actually done this year, because we go so fast that we just don't stop and give ourselves time to really think about, you know, what we've achieved. And this year I did set up that business that I planned kind of 4 years ago. And for every product that I sell, that funds 1 day of education for the children out there. And I might not be making millions yet, but I've set my business up a couple of months ago, and I've funded nearly 100 days of education for those children. And it's pennies, you know, it's not a lot to us, but do you know what? When I look at my figures and I'm looking at my stats, that means a hell of a lot more to me than the financial impact that I'm having to myself. And it just makes me, it's just a reminder that life is more than just about us. We're not here to just come and, you know, cycle around and leave again. We're here to come and make a difference. And it doesn't matter how we do it, no matter how big or small. But I think for me, find that realization and having that purpose has really made a big difference to my life. And similar to Bill, I think you have a purpose. We all have a purpose, and I think giving is part of that purpose. So thank you.
Amazing, Nicola. Amazing. And you know, without that meaning, what do we have? We have nothing really. Without that kind of deeper meaning, there's pretty much no point to some of it. It's a great privilege to be in the position we're in. And the spirit of this group is just incredible. Listening to these stories makes me feel very small. So thank you, Nicola. That's lovely. Khalid has his hand up.
Hello.
Hi, Khalid.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. How's it going?
Very good, very good. What a subject you brought up today. So glad to be here today. I just want to share a little bit this morning what happened. First of all, what I want to say is a genuine smile is a charity. A smile can save lives. Honestly, I'll come back to that. This morning I got up, I did my routines, and I went to my Instagram. I saw a like from on my wife's best friend's a charity appeals on Just Giving page, water tube for people in Sri Lanka. I only gave a little bit amount, then I shared that. I liked it and I shared that into my WhatsApp status. And from that, I saw some people donated, and a couple of hours later, I saw they wanted to raise only 250. They got almost £500 within the space of, you know, limited time. So even if we physically, financially, if we can't give something throughout the social media, we can do a lot of things. At least a like, and you know, we know how algorithm works now. Now we're involved with this kind of business. And a like can be a charity, and a like can show to someone who has a better intention, or, you know, waiting for a good cause to give. And that's why I say a request to everyone to do, even if you don't want to, you know, give for the time being. It can just like it, make a comment, and you know, other people will see. And come back to this smile. Recently, three weeks ago, I found out one of my cousin sister's husband committed suicide. He was a genuine good guy. He had good businesses. He was helping people. He was helping orphans and everything. He had good businesses. but obviously throughout the COVID-19, business suffered. He had two businesses, business not doing good. So obviously he borrowed money, he couldn't repay the lenders, and then he got in trouble. Then he asked help from his family, and family didn't believe him because he was doing really good before that. And it came to a point that he couldn't take it anymore, and he left the world. He left behind with his two young girl and my cousin's sister. And he was really good guy, intelligent guy. He was doing two businesses. He had all the intention. He helped people. He gave job. A lot of people jobs. He was helping orphan as well. But maybe one mistake he made, he took the wrong decision, and he took his life off because maybe someone didn't believe him, and that probably took him probably hurt him so hard. And such a nice guy gone. And COVID could have killed him, but no, instead the situation around COVID killed him. So a smile maybe from his family or friends or someone could have saved him, and he could continue to help people. So I decided to raise some money for his family through Just Giving page. I've done a few over the last 6-7 months, and I was quite scared. I raised for 2 different projects. I was scared that I wouldn't be able to make to get the money I wanted, but for each project I made, I raised more than double the amount. So I'm thinking what I can do, what to do. I'm thinking a page to raise a sufficient amount of money for, so I can give it to them, and they probably earn some interest or buy some asset, and then get something out of it. And his kids are so bright, good students. So yeah, but my main message is today is a good smile, a genuine smile is a charity. If you can't give anything else, just give a good smile. That's it. Thank you.
Lovely, Khaled. Lovely. And it's so true. And it's a cascade. It spreads. It's like positive dominoes. The dominoes fall down in a row, and big chain reactions can result from that. So thank you for that. And thanks for reminding us there are people that are leaving us because nobody realized, nobody listened, nobody saw. And we've got to have our eyes wide open and our ears wide open. It's really happening. And, let's not let anyone go over a cliff that needn't have gone over a cliff, So thanks very much for reminding us of that. I know we got to the top of the hour. I wanted to carry on, if I may, everybody. I know some people have to leave, so don't feel bad about leaving, but I'd like to hear everybody today. Stuart, you're next up with your hand raised.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to say, I know we're at the top of the hour here, and I saw that people were leaving. I'll try and be brief with this. Man, not only, really way to deliver today, powerful topic. You've really touched a lot of people. And what I think is interesting is that the message is about how we touch other people, right? And not only in this group, but outside these circles. So powerful. I'm humbled by listening to everybody speak, and the spirit of giving and the spirit of charity and everything that everybody's doing, and almost a state of being overwhelmed in the sense of there's so many people that need our help, right? And there are so many charities, and so maybe one of the things is pick something, pick an issue, or hop onto one of the charities that has been mentioned today, and maybe we could post something on Facebook. Maybe Evelyn would do that. I think that's a super cool idea. You guys just reminded me that this time of year, it's super cold. It was like 20 below last night here in New Mexico in the mountains. And, we have a homeless population, even in the little town of Taos and Santa Fe, in Albuquerque. And every year we lose people that are just freeze to death, sleeping on the streets. Hold on a second. I totally didn't think I was going to get emotional. I thought I was just going to rattle this out. But anyway, you've reminded me and inspired me to connect with these charities. And see what I can do. Immediately, I was reminded of The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And one of the quotes in there is, our level of success is in direct proportion to our level of service in this world, right? And while historically I have not been someone with a lot of financial resources, I've always been a giving person, and giving what I can. And whether it's to things that I care about in terms of conservation or animals or human causes and things like that. Some of you guys know we run a llama rescue organization that is under an umbrella of a nonprofit. So that takes up, a fair amount of our, you guys see me on, Zoom here all the time, but, when I'm not, we're out dealing with animals and dealing with the ranch. I was telling Adrian last night, water's frozen, pipes are freezing, it's a whole big deal out here. And it reminds me that people are not as fortunate. I was homeless for a while. I know what it's like to live without and with less. And at the same time, I always felt grateful that for whatever I had, right? And it just reminds me that so much of this is states of mind too, right? And we're fortunate here that no matter what our situation is, that we have the benefit of the community and the benefit of helping each other with right mindset, whereas other people in challenging situations don't have that kind of support or even that level of awareness that they can change their lives, their situations by changing how they think, and all these things that we're learning with the Success Mastermind. In terms of doing what we can, over the years, we've donated dozens of wilderness trips to local, regional, and national charities. We used to do hike-a-thons for local organizations where people would come and pay a certain amount to go hiking with the llamas, and then all that money would go to charity or whatever. So I just want to share a little bit of that. Adrian, you talked about the internal flame, right? And that reminded me of the fire within. And this is the spark, right, of our soul that we can spread around the world. It's how we touch other people. In Hebrew, that's called the Eish Tamid, which is the eternal flame that never goes out. And when you talked about lighting a candle this week, right, it's Hanukkah, right? And while I'm not necessarily, a practicing Jew, it is part of my, heritage, let's say. And so it's interesting to me, you talked about lighting a candle. Well, on the menorah, and some of you guys may know that on the menorah, every day of Hanukkah, you put another candle on the menorah. But there's one candle that's in the middle that's called the shamash. And that's the candle you light first. And you take that candle and you light all the other candles with that candle, right? So metaphoric of, how we touch other people and how we can use our divine spark to touch other people. So super cool. That really inspired me. And then, dude, I got to talk about the alchemy reference, right? So thank you for bringing up lead to gold. And I think we'll explore this more because it's interesting to me, right? Alchemy, is about transmutation, transformation, right? There's the search for the philosopher's stone, which is the key that helps you to turn lead into gold, right? And people spend their whole lives, hundreds of years ago, trying to, turn lead into gold. But what's really interesting to me is that this is metaphoric as well. And I think people get hung up in this, I'm going to turn lead into gold, right? And the kings and the people of influence and power, they hired alchemists to make them gold and all this stuff. But the real deal is that it's a metaphor for building our temple, right, of self, right? The perfection of the human spirit, right? And at the top of that, you could say, is an eternal flame, right? And that's what we share with each other. So super cool, man. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm humbled by the spirit of service in this community, and God bless you all, man. Well done.
No, thank you, Stuart. Yeah, look, that's lovely thoughts. And let's pass on that flame like the Olympic torch in a way, hand to hand. We can pass it hand to hand. And yes, looking forward to our next discussion of the atomic structure of various metals, Stuart. Can't wait for that. But you know, you're absolutely right. It is humbling to hear what everybody's doing, and I think it's a real kick as well to do more. And you know, when I realize what people have been doing, it is humbling to hear it. So thank you all. We've got a couple more hands up, and after that we'll probably stop for the day. But Cyril is next with his hand up. Cyril, great to see you and hear you.
Hi, yeah, it's great to hear you too, and a really great topic today. I just wanted to say that I would say that people have said on the line that you're no more than 3 steps away. Well, my life has been closer to more like 1 and none at times in my life, particularly when I was younger. And my family, we were we had no place to go. And what got me from a very early age was that why the people helped us the way they did. So
don't worry, Cyril, it's great to hear you, and I know it's difficult. These stories are heart-wrenching, to be honest. So thanks for speaking. Really appreciate it.
I've always wanted to give back, and it's been on my list as one of the things to be doing. And although I've very rarely had much to give financially, I've always tried to when I can. And one of the reasons I sing in my choir is because, apart from the fact that I don't feel as though I'm giving, but I know we do when we can sing. We give we do so many performances for charity and stuff, and it's, even though I may not have much to give financially, it's been a pleasure to give of myself for something that is of, well, for me, I feel I get more out of it than I'm giving, but for me, I felt as though I was at least giving something. So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Cyril. Thank you so much. There are some people in this group who have lived over the edge, and I think you're inspiring everybody else that hasn't been there to really think about that. So thank you for that, Cyril. And Gail, you have the honor of closing out here.
I'll keep it short because I know it's late, but over the years, I've always contributed with different things at my church and so on. But before I moved here, when I used to go regularly to a homeless shelter where the men and women would come in. A local church had donated their basement for our use, and the men and the women would come in. They had to be in by 8 p.m. and then the doors were locked, and they had to be out the next morning by 7 a.m. And we would have cooked meals for them. They had cots to sleep on. We had clean underwear and socks and gloves and things to hand out if they needed it, and toiletries. And they were so thankful. I have to say, out of all the years of doing things, helping somebody like that, helping these people, I got more out of it than they did. As Cyril said, it's very rewarding when you help someone, and it really, really is. And some of these people were dirty. They didn't have their hair done or combed even. It was all matted and messed up. But they were so thankful that they had a cot to sleep on. They had warm food for the night and the morning for breakfast. And sometimes if we had good donations, they would tape a paper bag with them that was filled with food for their lunches. And it just, to me, that was the most rewarding work. And I got so much out of it. I really did. So anyway, that's that. We better close off now.
Oh, Gail, that was lovely. And no, I think you really do. There's no feeling quite like it, really. If you can do any good at all, it's a great privilege and a great feeling. And
yeah,
thank
it
you
is
for that,
a privilege.
Gail. It's a great privilege. I'm going to close the session off. I think I feel quite emotional about the whole thing. It's made me feel very alive and even more plugged into the outside world around us than I've ever been, I think. So thank you for all the inspiration from all of you. What a session, and lots to think about. What I'm sure about is I can do a lot more, especially listening to some of the people in this group. I can do a heck of a lot more. So thank you all for the reminder, really, about what is possible. Thanks for all of you for being here. A bit of quick housekeeping. There's EVA speaking later, Corporate Curios at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, followed by Stuart with the Adventures in Mindset at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So 2 more sessions to come today. But thank you so much for dialing in, and thanks to everyone that shared today. Incredibly powerful discussion we had. I really appreciate that.
Adrian,
so take care of yourselves.
Thank you.
Adrian, thanks for starting it.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thanks for your contributions.
Thank you.
We'll see you later. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye. Bye.